This next exercise I want you to work on is a very popular interview question called the FizzBuzz algorithm. So we have this function called FizzBuzz. We give it an input and it returns a string. Let me show you how that works. So let's declare a constant called output. Here we call FizzBuzz and pass an input like 3. Then log the output on the console. Let's see what we get. We get fizz. So if the number that we pass in is divisible by 3, we get fizz. So let me show you here. If the number is divisible by 3, we get fizz. Now, if the number that we pass is divisible by 5, we get buzz. So divisible by 5, we get buzz. Now, if the number that we pass in is divisible by 3 and 5, like 15, we get FizzBuzz. So divisible by both 3 and 5, we get FizzBuzz. Now, if the number is not divisible by either 3 or 5, we're going to get the same number. So if we pass, let's say 7, we get 7. So not divisible by 3 or 5, we get the same input. Now, if we don't pass a number here, let's say we passed a string, we should get this message, not a number. The same is true if we pass a Boolean or anything that is not a number. So if the input is not a number, that is the message that we should display on the console. So I want you to pause the video, spend 10 to 15 minutes on this exercise, and when you're done, come back, continue watching. All right, let's see how we can implement this FizzBuzz function. So we get the input. First, we want to see if this is a number or not. Because if it's not a number, then we don't care about dividing that number by 3 or 5. So for that, we use the type of operator. So if type of input is not number, we want to return this message, not a number. So that's the first if statement in this function. Now, if we get to this point, that means we have a number. We want to see if this number is divisible by 3, 5, both of them, or none of them. We can write an if statement like this. If input modulus 3 equals 3, that means this number is divisible by 3. So we return fizz. Similarly, we're going to have another if statement. So if input modulus 5 equals 0, we're going to return buzz. Next, we want to see if this number is divisible by both 3 and 5. So if input is divisible by 3 and input is divisible by 5 as well. Now here we're dealing with a complex expression. To make this code more readable, I would like to put each expression in parentheses, like this. So here we have one expression, then we have the logical and the second expression. We can select this expression and type the opening parentheses, and this automatically adds the closing parentheses. That's a quick tip for you. So if this number is divisible by both 3 and 5, we want to return FizzBuzz. And if we get to this point, that means that number is not divisible by either 3 or 5. So we simply return the same input. Now let's test this function. So initially I've passed false. We should get not a number on the console. Save the changes. We get not a number. Beautiful. What happens if we pass 3? We get 3. What happens if we pass 5? We get buzz. So far, so good. What if we pass 15? 15 is divisible by both 3 and 5, so we should get FizzBuzz. Save the changes. Wait a sec, what happened here? We got fizz, whereas we expected FizzBuzz. The reason for that is because of how we have ordered our if statements. So in this case, 15 is divisible by 3, so this if statement is executed, and here we immediately return fizz. To solve this problem, we need to move this if statement on the top. So I've selected these two lines. Now to move this code up, we can simply press the Alt key and the up arrow. As simple as that. Okay, so if the number is divisible by both 3 and 5, we immediately return FizzBuzz. Now, let's save the changes. Okay, the problem is solved. What if we pass a number that is not divisible by 3 or 5? Let's say 7. Now we get the same input, beautiful. So this is the FizzBuzz algorithm that you see in a lot of programming interviews. Now I want to show you something. In JavaScript, we have this special value called not a number. So here I'm going to replace this string with not a number. Whenever you're dealing with some mathematical calculation, if the result is not a number, this value is returned. So we can use the same value instead of returning a string like not a number. Now, this was not part of the exercise. It's something that I'm teaching you now. So let's save the changes. Now, instead of passing a number, let's pass false. Now we get not a number. Let's take a look at the type of this value. So type of not a number. Weirdly enough, the type of this value is a number, but the value is something specific that is not a valid mathematical number.